Hello guys, how are you doing? If you can hear me, let me know. Let me know if you can hear me. So we are looking for who was Cain's wife. Now I need to know if my audio is perfectly okay or should I adjust it. My audio is fine, then we're good. If not, then I have to attach an external mic. So I'm listening guys. Can you hear me? Drop it in the comments. Drop it in the comments if you can hear me. So the idea is that this thing has been trending. Okay, it has been trending because a comedian decided to ask the question, to spark the conversation, even though he put it in a comedy way. You know, yes, okay, cool. So even though he put it in a comedy way, comedian Woli Arole, and still tell me if my audio is still there before I start talking to myself. I'm attaching an external mic. I've attached an external mic, so let me know if my audio is still there. So comedian Woli released a skit, all right, the other day, let me say 2 days ago. In that skit, he asked a very important, crucial question. You know, he said, "Who was Cain?" He was trying to preach to someone, a Nollywood actor, and the Nollywood actor asked him, "Say, wait, before you preach that thing to me, who was Cain's wife?" And if you're a Christian, we know that this is a very big question in Christianity. Once they start teaching you the origin of the world and everything, and they start getting to that point, all of a sudden, if you're a right thinking human being, that's the question that will come because they say that God created Adam, and after some time, it was like, oh, he needs a companion. Then he created Eve as a second thought. And then after creating Eve, they sinned. He said, okay, you guys will now start dying. Dying means that if both of them die, the world has ended. So now procreation followed it, you know. Then from procreation, creation, according to the Bible, only, according to the Bible, Eve gave birth to only two kids. The first one was Cain, the second one was Abel. Now, Cain got jealous of Abel because the sacrifice of Cain did not go. So Cain tricked Abel out and killed him. You know, that one is a stupid move. If you are the only two people on earth, why would you kill your brother? You get what I'm saying? Jealousy of what? Okay, so he killed Abel. And then God cursed him, saying that he because Cain was a farmer, he tills the soil. God said that the soil will not produce fruit again. So Cain decided to go to another land. He said that Cain was going to be a wanderer from then on because whatever he farms will not produce fruit. He's going to be a vagabond. Cain now went to another land and married another wife. Where did the wife come from? Many ministers, in fact, in the past 2 days, I've seen many ministers attempt to answer this. And their problem is that they already have preconceived notion. So all the evidence and proof that they're trying to get, they're trying to blend it and bend it to suit that narrative they already have. You get what I'm saying? It's just like if I already have a narrative that a building will collapse, and I was told to go and investigate, I'll start looking for all the evidences that support what I already believe that the building will collapse. And in truth, the building may be so strong that it will not even collapse in the next 20 years. But I already believe something. It's just like, I think they call it confirmation bias. Those people that did psychology, you know what I'm talking about. Confirmation bias, when people. So, Olusheye Enoch, yes, thanks for dropping that. He said that the Bible told us that Adam and Eve gave birth to another baby. Okay, drop the verse because this is a Bible discussion. If you're trying to say something, you drop the verse so that we all can follow. So as the thing was going, uh, confirmation bias happens when you already have a narrative. Then you go out to look for evidences to support that narrative you already have. which means you're not actually looking for evidence to find out what the truth is. You're trying to find out what your truth is. So when I see many ministers, not all, but many ministers trying to dig out who did Cain marry, they run into a confirmation bias, where they already have the Bible and they're trying to find evidence to support that narrative that is already there. So, but now we're going to try as much as possible not to have any narrative at all. We look at things. I'm going to show you things that you've never even heard in church, but they are factual and real and exist, like very verifiable to today. You know, now no minister will show you. They might know it, but they will not show you because it's going to contradict every other thing they have already taught you before. So, Enoch, we're waiting for you to drop the Bible verse. So we're waiting for you to drop the Bible verse. So the very first thing is that God created Adam and Eve. Now you need to know that there are two creation stories in the Bible. And if you read the Bible well, I'm a Bible scholar, okay? I wrote a lot of exams on the Bible alone, so I can call myself relatively a, a theologian or theologist, how do they call it? Bible theologian, okay? So many stories in the Bible occur twice. Many people don't notice. It occurred twice. For instance, do you know that when in remember me know. Sorry, I had something disrupt my internet. Okay, so remember when Saul in the Bible was going to Damascus to kill Christians, and he encountered Jesus on the way. Do you know that that story is twice, and each of them tell a slightly different way it happened? You know, whether he saw Jesus before he fell, or whether he fell then saw Jesus. What Jesus actually spoke to him, that story is two. You know that the story of the death of Jesus, how the woman discovered Jesus' grave in the morning and discovered that he has resurrected. That story is two. I've been more than three. Self. How many people did Jesus see when he resurrected? That story is many. Some will tell you 11 disciples. Some will tell you Paul that he was not even there at all. Now wrote Jesus saw 500 people. So guys, Enoch has dropped the verse. Okay, so let's start with Enoch's verse for today. Now Bible class. So he said Genesis 4:25. So Genesis 4:25 says, let's read directly from Adam had relations with his wife again, and she gave birth to a son and named him Seth. And she said, God has appointed me another child in place of Abel because Cain killed him. Adam had sexual relations with his wife again, and she gave him another son. She named him Seth. Okay, that is it now. 4:25. Now, there is no mention of daughter. There is no mention of daughter. Unless, okay, now we are starting to get into the ifs. Unless, let me even zoom it. Let me see how can. I hope you guys can see it in yellow. That Bible verse said that Adam produced three sons: Cain, Abel, and then Seth. Seth was a replacement for Abel. Where did the daughter come from? The lady that Cain married. This verse still did not answer it. You get, it still did not answer it. But let's assume, just for the purpose of discussion, that this particular Eve also gave birth to ladies. Another problem comes up: incest. Because if Eve gave birth to a lady, that means the lady had sex with one of the men there, either with Adam, Seth, or Cain, to produce who Cain married. Another problem. So I think we can do that. Yeah. Enoch. Let's see how we can share this. That would be good. That would be good. So Enoch, you will need to have. Let me see if I can add you. So Enoch, check the chat, and you will see the link to join this particular discussion. So if you click on it, I will accept you. So you see, there are issues, a lot of questions coming from there. So Vincent Afeni is saying Genesis 4:10. So let's see Genesis 4:10. Genesis 4:10. We're looking for where Cain found a wife. So Genesis 4:10 said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground." What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? I would have thought that you would have pointed to the next verse, next two verses. So let's see Genesis 4:9-15. 9-15. So this was where after Cain killed Abel, and then God came to ask him about Abel, and then cursed him. But somewhere around verse 13 or 14, you will see that there were already other people existing then. Look, look. Then the Lord said to Cain, "Where is your brother Abel?" Cain first denied and said, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" The Lord said, "What have you done? Listen, your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are under a curse and driven from the ground, which opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. When you walk the ground, it will no longer yield its crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Okay? Basically, he turned from farming to being a nomad. Okay? Cain said, "Lord, my punishment is more than I can bear. Today you are driving me from the land, and I will be hidden from your presence. I will be a restless wanderer on earth." Now, this is where I want you to pay attention. "And whoever finds me will kill me." Which means, according to the Bible, at the time of that discussion, immediately by the time Cain was killing Abel, other people were already existing. So that verse that Enoch suggested does not answer this question. You get what I'm saying? So other people were already existing for Cain to say that whoever finds me will kill me. They were not the only people on earth. So even before Eve gave birth to Seth, which is a replacement for Abel, according to that verse, Genesis 4:25. Even before that, other people were already existing, and Cain is confirming it here that whoever finds me will kill me. People there already, according to the Bible, on that point. You get what I'm saying? That is what this verse means. Abi, am I lying? Okay, so I can see you, Reverend. Okay, let me add. You guys should let me know if you can hear him already. If you can hear him, let us know. We're listening. You can start talking.
Okay, thank you, Dave. Can you hear me
Guys,
clearly?
can't hear him.
Can you hear me?
I still can't hear you.
You can't? Okay.
We,
Hold on.
we can't hear you. So what could be the reason? Is it your earphone? Guys, can you hear him? So can you exit and rejoin? Just exit and rejoin, okay? So that uh okay, you guys can hear him. Then I'm the one with the problem. Oh, yeah. I get it. It's not your problem, it's mine.
You hear me
Since
now?
they can hear you.
Can you hear me? Hello?
In that case, I have to use an earpiece to hear you. So keep
Now,
holding
can
on.
you
Let me
hear me
add
now?
my earpiece.
Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now?
Okay, I'm back with an earpiece, and hopefully this time I can hear.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear
Hello?
me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, very clearly. Yes, I can hear you.
Now, hey,
So
man,
tell us where Cain's wife came from.
very, very easy, Dave. I have
Yeah,
just
BB, I'm going to answer it. Don't worry.
now I have
Continue.
15 minutes to answer your questions. When you look into the account of Bible, it's very easy. And the
Mhm.
Bible makes us to know that not every event they can write in the Bible. When you read Revelation, they said
Mhm.
if they want to write every event in the Bible, you can't take everything. So it's like an account. Now, when you look at the years they live, some live 700 years,
Mhm.
some live 500 years,
Mhm.
some live 900 years. Now, let me tell you something. Within that years, God wants them to multiply, and they can interchange, intermarried. So they give they give birth to so many children, which the Bible did not
Mm.
write.
Mm.
This is common
Mm.
sense. Well,
Mm.
because it's a year, how can a man live like 500 years and give out to one child? No, they give out. So that is why
Mm.
when you look at the account of Israelites tomorrow, they give out to as much as possible children.
Mm.
I get what I'm saying.
Mm.
Now,
Mm. Mm.
that one needs common sense. You can get that one. I will stop because I work in hospital. Now, secondly,
Yeah, yeah.
you are talking about the Jesus Christ, about the disciples. Where did they get the disciples from? Very easy. When you look at the account of John, when Jesus Christ was saying, "My blood, my blood is my. You can drink my blood. You can eat my flesh." The Bible makes us to know that some people departed from him and they did not come back again. The Bible said,
Mm.
apart from 12, he still have some disciples. So what he said
Mm.
was, "Oh, sorry, did you lock that door? Oh, why? They've locked me out, Dave." So now, very easy, very simple. Apart from 12, Jesus Christ have many disciples. But there was I don't want to use altercation. There was a mix up. When Jesus Christ they came to the other side of the sea. That was account of John the Baptist. I can't remember the verse. They came to the other side of the sea. They were asking him for food. So they came
Mhm.
for food, not for the word of God. So Jesus Christ was telling him that you came here to see me because of the food you had, because I fed 10,000 yesterday. You came back for the
Mm.
food. So when he said, okay, that food is not enough, that my blood, my flesh is what you should eat. So he was telling her that when you believe in me, I can fill you up. You remember Jesus Christ told that lady that he met very close to the river, that if you can believe in me, not on that mountain again, that the people that worship God from inner mind. So the woman was confused and would genuinely know that someone
Mm.
different touched her. So she ran to the inside of Jerusalem to say, I have seen the Christ. So the account is very funny, but when you have the Holy Spirit, 100% it will explain to you. Why can a man live like 900 years and you think he only give birth to a baby, only two or three sons? They give birth to a lot, as much as possible that year. They can
Mm.
marry, you can marry your daughter, I can marry your son, you can marry my son. So that is what happened
Mm.
that time, that when they get to the account of Genesis 16, that is where they said they want to come together, and God do what? God scattered their language, and that is why we have so many languages.
Mm. Mm. Okay, okay.
So
Thank you very much. Thank you
I
for the
will stop
contribution.
here because if anything, if you need more questions, I know there's a lot of philosophers and a lot of people,
Mm. Mm.
but let me tell you something, Dave. The only one that can understand Bible is the one that we interpret Bible with the knowledge of Holy Spirit, not the people that read
Mm.
and read. So a lot of people read Bible, they know in and out of Bible, but they don't have Holy Spirit. So when you want to get more
Hmm.
about Bible, you need to have Holy Spirit to explain it to you. Thank you, my brother.
Hmm.
You can sign me out.
All right. Thanks. Yes. Thanks. So he gave us a very, very good explanation. A very good explanation of a very, let me call it angle, because I know a lot of people will still have other angles to add to it. So he gave us a very solid angle. And the core thing he said was that, look, these people lived so long in that era, according to the Bible. Like Adam lived 936 years or so. So he said within that time, you can't logically say that Adam gave birth to only one or two children. Within those years, he must have given birth to so many. So that it makes sense to believe that at some point there would have been other people that may have possibly descended from them. Okay, so very nice, very nice. Let's continue digging till we have someone else that wants to contribute or even counter what he said. So, but he gave us a very, very good angle to it. So let's see. Let's keep going forward. So now you see that if Cain went to another land and picked up a wife, and the Bible said that the reason Adam named Eve Eve is because she was going to be the mother of all nations. So the Bible so Adam named Eve Eve because somehow that word Eve means mother of all living humans, or mother of everyone living. You understand? So unless you want to counter that, it means that Eve was the mother of everyone. Everyone descended from Eve and Adam, of course. So if we start looking at the time that Cain lived, now we don't know how long Adam and Eve lived in the Bible, in the garden, before they sinned. We don't know. There was no time frame. You understand? Now, another thing is that we don't even know how long that discussion with the devil, serpent, happened between Eve and the serpent. I mean, after the Eve ate the fruit. A comedian once said that we don't know the time frame between after the Eve ate the fruit and when Eve called Adam to eat. You get what I'm saying? So there was no proper time frame then. So we don't know whether they lived out of that 936 years of Adam. We don't know whether Adam lived only, let's say, lived 900 years naked in the garden before giving birth. We don't know. You get? So that's another angle to it. So another thing is, if at the time Cain was born, or Cain killed Abel, there were other people living that Cain had to go there and marry, and Cain was also scared that they could kill him. If those people existed, it means that Cain married his sister or cousin. How would you explain that? And this was before, um, Eve gave birth to a third child, if we're following the Bible word for word as it is. So the more you try to dig in, the more questions you have, unless you do what Reverend Enoch just suggested, that you have to look at it in context. Yeah. So now, if you look at the Bible, right? If you look at the Bible in Leviticus and in Deuteronomy, it warned against incest, marrying someone close to you. I'll tell you why, but for now, let me just show you where it is. So Leviticus 18:7 to 18. It said, do not dishonor your father by having sexual relations with your mother. Do not have sexual relations with your father's wife. Do not have sexual relations with your sister. So a sister and brother cannot have sexual relations, according to Leviticus. It's also in Deuteronomy. So incest was banned in the Bible. So if Cain went to another person and married someone that came from Eve, and they are that close, then there's another question there. Did they commit incest? Now, let us go up a little bit, and look at it in context. Why is incest, what is so special about incest that almost every religion and culture bans it? You get almost every religion and culture bans incest. Almost every, go to your village, different place. Now, the core reason is this, that there's a scientific reason for it. But those people in the olden days, they will not tell you science because there was no field called science. It's called sorcery then and stuff like that. So religion was not separate from science in those days. So what they do is they I hope you saw the last thing I read on Leviticus. I just noticed that my screen was not showing. So that's his Leviticus 18:7 to 18. So what they discovered was that when a brother marries a sister and produces an offspring, the chances of that offspring being deformed is high, very high, because the genetic pool is not variant enough. It's not diverse enough. You're supposed to marry someone from whose genetic pool is different from yours, so you mix and produce healthy offsprings. But if it's close to you, if the person is too close to you, you're going to produce offsprings that are handicapped in one way or the other. And there are so many examples of that in ancient Egypt and Europe, where the oligarchs, the ruling family, did not want to go outside. They did not want to marry laymen. So they kept marrying themselves and producing offsprings that are deformed. Many kings in the past were seriously deformed. Many kings were deformed. Why? Because what? Their father and mother were closely related. You understand? So they say that is it genetic variance that they call it, between brother and sister is just 50%. They are just 50% different from each other and 50% similar. That's 50-50. But then when you have something like a half brother, I think it's 75%, like that, cousin, it increases like that gradually. So they say the right place to start marrying is from second cousin. That's where it is a little more safe to start marrying, from second cousin. So back in those days, those people would marry the same. If they marry, they notice that if brothers and sisters produce offspring, the offspring is usually unhealthy. So how do they explain it? Imagine that you go to the chief priest and say, I've given birth to 2 kids. 2 of them are having very weird diseases. What do? Chief priest will know that, so many people have brought this option before, and probably because they are related, they will now say it's a taboo. Don't do that. So that's how they stop the the people. Then they just tell you that the oracle has banned it, so that the people then will not try it. So that's why most of our traditions and culture, if you look at the things that they outlawed and banned, if you look into it properly, you see that they did that because of a problem they were facing. Even though now science may have overcome that problem. You understand? You just see these people are doing stupid tradition. But if you pay attention and look at what was the context around there, you will now get it. So now you can get the context around Leviticus banning marriage between closely related people. In fact, the whole passage from 7 to 18 is about sex between closely related people. But then in the Bible too, you start seeing other people that even did that. People like Abraham. I think the lady was either his sister or his cousin, but I know that they were, or half sister. I think they were closely related. So this forces them to produce offsprings. This makes them produce offspring that are unhealthy. So now if you look at the Bible that way and understand that some of these rules and regulations, if you read Leviticus, you see that it's a list of laws. Even Exodus is a list of laws. So some of these things were basically laws that were implemented by kings on how the society is supposed to be run. So if we go back to the story of Adam and Eve, now we can start seeing. Guys, please be dropping comments, so let me know when I've gone off air. Okay, so if we go back to the story of Adam and Eve, We will now start, if we look at it in that context again, is there any context around the story? Now, if we look at that story as an allegory, that is the story that was manufactured to pass a message. Example, the folk tales they used to tell us when we were kids. They will say in the land of yesterday or day before yesterday, I was given an example of a story they used to tell us as growing kids. They will tell us in the land of Idu Noba, that is an ancient kingdom of the animals. They will not tell you that the elephant told the tortoise this, the tortoise did this, that. It's now that we're growing up and we saw that that land actually exists. It's a Edo state that we're referring to. They were referring to Edo state because that's their land of Idu and their Oba, which is the king. But in the east, in Igbo land there, it has become a land, a fable kingdom. And then they will not tell you that there were human beings there. They will use the character and qualities of animals to denote the characters of human beings. And if you focus on the animals, you miss the message. They will tell you that there was one that they said that all the mothers, all the animals were complaining about how their mothers were trying to control them, and they came up with a suggestion: let us all kill our mothers, so that they will stop disturbing us. Now, all of them arranged on a day to kill their mothers, and this happened in the land of Idu and Oba. This is a folk tale in the east, Igbo folk tale, mentioning something that happened in Ido, today's present-day Edo state. So at the end, all the animals killed. Meanwhile, the tortoise took his own mother and hid her in the skies. So after they killed all their mothers, the tortoise now brought down his mother and was like, you all of you, the mumu, who will now be cooking for you? Because now they started complaining there is hunger. Nobody to cook for them. The tortoise mother now became the sole supplier of food in the kingdom. You get what I'm saying? So if you focus on it is a tortoise, how can a tortoise go and take his mother and hide in the sky? How can somebody hide something in the sky? This, that. You will miss the message in that story, the moral lesson. Now, if you look at the Bible that way, especially the first part of the Bible, the Old Testament, the Genesis stories, if you look at it that way, you'll see that those things may not have happened the way they were written. But there is a message then. For instance, the message of many people actually miss the message of Cain and Abel. The message there is that no matter how much you pray, you still have to watch your back. That's the moral lesson there. Don't do yourself. That you did sacrifice and that sacrifice was accepted doesn't mean anything with respect to the security measures you're supposed to take. You understand? That God cannot come down and do for you what you're supposed to do for yourself. That if somebody tells you, let's go to the fields, make sure that you're not in front, go to the back. You get what I'm saying? The way Cain lured Abel out and killed him. Now, these are the messages in the story. If you try to focus on the character, how can Cain be born, this, that, where did he find what, you miss the story. You understand? So that story may not be true, but the author used it to point out something. So if you start looking at it that way, yeah, thanks. So if you start looking at it that way, you start understanding how these people communicated in those days. You understand? So Abraham or Moses, the author of that book, will look around and say, okay, let us create this story to highlight this particular thing and prevent our people from making that mistake. That was a pattern of writing those days. In fact, can I shock you? They actually plagiarized a lot of stories of people, other kingdoms around that time. Many of the stories you see in the Old Testament, even in the New Testament, did not happen. They simply copied other people's story and changed names and put it there. I'll prove it to you. So, but here's a local example. Imagine that Ifa, in Yoruba land, there's an Ifa religion, and there are stories within that religion. Now, imagine that Yorubas fought with, let's say, Edo people. I'm just making this up so that people will understand. So I'm not saying anybody should go and fight. So let's say Yorubas fought with Edo people and conquered them and took them to Yoruba land to work for them. And then after they worked for like 70 years, he now released them back. Maybe a new Yoruba king came and told the Edo people, go back to your land. And they went back. Now they have two cultures, the original Edo culture and the one they learned from the Yoruba. Now imagine that people in Edo want to write a book because they have gone to Yoruba land and saw that Yorubas like to write books about their religion. They came back to Edo and be like, you people here that did not go with us, you people don't write. See, we have to actually write books. We can't just be orally telling our stories. Now they want to write book. What do you think they're going to write? They're going to get stories from Yoruba land and get the one from Edo and merge it and put it in the kingdom and change the Yoruba names there to Edo names. So like I said, this is just an example. Nobody should come and start dragging tribal anything here. It's just an example. And you understand? So if we look at the Bible, if you look at the map, you'll see that Israel is not far from a very big civilization. The first human civilization that came up was in Mesopotamia. Let's look at where Mesopotamia is. If you know the map of Africa, then you look at the distance from that place to Israel, Mesopotamia. Mesopotamia is in somewhere present-day Iraq, Iran. You understand? Let me show you the picture. So we're going to start with a very wild one. So I hope you can see my screen. If you can see my screen, let me know. So if you know the map of the world at all, you know that this is Africa. This is Egypt. Okay, if you cross Egypt, you enter Israel. In fact, this map says Semitic peoples. Semitic is Israeli. If they say that you've said something that is anti-Semitic, it means that you have said something that is against the people of Israel. So they are herders and farmers. Okay, basically they are headsmen. The headsmen we're having issue with today. You get what I'm saying? So they were headsmen. Now, look at where Israel is. Once you cross Egypt, you enter Israel. But look at where Mesopotamia is, which is where Babylon is. That's where you see Babylon. You see Syria. Today, what you have there is Iraq, Iran. Which other country that is there? I think Bahrain. Bahrain is here too. So that's where a big civilization was before. And you can tell why there is a civilization there because you can see a river. Did you see this river? This river passed there and this other river passed there. Unlike the whole of this place, look at the whole of this place, there's no river. The only other place you see river is in Egypt. And guess what happened in Egypt? The very next civilization after Mesopotamia fell happened in Egypt. Because of what? This river. Because this whole area is desert. You get? So in case somebody is confused where that thing is, let me show you a bigger map of the world. Keep dropping comments if you have questions so I can pin it, people will see. So there was a very big, it's just like there is Lagos. Lagos is a very big civilization, okay? And then you see people in Ogun State. So Israel is that Ogun State that maybe you see villages that are not as developed. You understand? But Lagos is the city where there is development. So that is how Mesopotamia was a big civilization, magnificent. Okay? Then in the desert there, out there in the desert, you now see cattle rearers, herdsmen. They call themselves Israelites. You get? So these Israelites always look up to what is happening in Mesopotamia. If they want to grow, they just have to copy the Mesopotamia culture because they will go there to sell their sheep, their rams, and buy whatever. And when they're coming back, they realize that they're going back into the desert. But when you're going to Mesopotamia, you see magnificent building. That's where you have the Tower of Babel. About 3,000 years ago, a king wanted, according to the Bible, a king wanted to build a building that will go and touch the skies. Imagine that kind of civilization. They wanted the building to be so tall that it would touch the skies, but somewhere in between, they started arguing, and that structure was never completed. So you start seeing the reason Israel, the proximity between Israel and Mesopotamia. Now, why am I pointing that out? The reason I'm pointing that out is that many stories in the Bible copied original stories of the Mesopotamians. It shock you. So this is, why is this not clear? This is map of the world. Okay. Let me look for a clearer map. Map of, okay, I know what to do. Okay. So, good. So many stories, original stories, you know that these Mesopotamians, they were not just a kingdom for the kingdom of it. They were not just a civilization for just for the name. They were a civilization because they developed so many things. You know, so many things we use today, they developed the original core concepts. For instance, the concept of writing down religion, they developed it there. Even by the time the British came to Africa, we weren't documenting our religion. Till today, how many African traditional religions are documented? How many of these native doctors and all these worshippers of trees and rivers have sat down to write it? We have not even got to that level. But this guy did it 3,000 to 5,000 years ago. When there was no book, they were writing it on clay. You get? So now, to build such a large civilization, you need slaves. You understand? You need slaves. So what do? They will raid neighboring towns, they will attack neighboring towns and carry them off as slavery. And now that happened in Israel. That happened to Israelites many times. If you read even in the Bible, many of them were taken for slavery many times. In the Bible, it was documented that when Egypt wanted to develop, what did they do? They crossed over to the next country, which is Israel, and carried them off as slaves. Or according to what the proper way it was written in the Bible, there was hunger in the land. So Israelites migrated to Egypt. Why are they migrating to Egypt? Because that was where the development was. So now if you look at the name Moses, Moses is actually an Egyptian name. So by the time they're coming back, they came with Egyptian cultures and concepts. That's the same thing that happened on their eastern flank, which is where Mesopotamia was. They were taken for slavery many times. In fact, the Bible documented at least one or twice of that. But if you read the proper history, see that many times. Now, if you look at the account of Genesis, how Abraham moved from where he was to Israel, I think they said the land of Ur to the land of Canaan. Now, that land of Ur is actually somewhere in Mesopotamia, maybe the outskirts. You understand? And why is he moving to the land of Canaan? The land has desertified. There is now desert. You can no longer see food. You can no longer farm and get food to eat. So now he started looking for where there is land of what? Milk and honey. Basically, where there is a town situated close to a river. If you look at Israel, these lines are rivers. If you look at Israel, you will see there's a river line here. You get, I think, what name of that river in Israel? Since we're online, let us Google it. Yeah, River Jordan and so on. Thanks a lot. So those days, because that place is desert, you see there are 3 rivers. There's Hebeso stream, Kishon River, and Zaka River. So because that place is desert, so once desert catches up with a place a town is resident, their king or their leader will tell them, hey, we can no longer feed. Usually they will send hunters, in this case, headers, to go far and wide in all directions. And they will give them like 2-3 months to come back. When they're back, they will give reports. They will say, we found a place that is good for us, so and so place. In the case of Canaan, people were already living there, So they went there and displaced those people. They went to Canaan and displaced the people that were there. You get? So maybe some parts of it is natural. There's serious civilization for a long time. Desert will come there. Picture a city like Lagos, for instance. In Lagos, what are human beings doing? We are cutting down trees. So anywhere human beings developed a city or town, it means that they have cut down a lot of trees and killed a lot of vegetation. In fact, in this modern time, we use plaster. People don't want grass for their compound again. They use plaster it, pave it all the way to the main road, and the main road will now be another pavement. And after all these things, what do you notice? The place become hotter. No more trees. The place become hotter, and the more hotter it is, the more other plants will die out. After some time, that place, in fact, if you come to Lagos in the next 100 or 200 years, Lagos will be a desert. You know, because what? Human beings have destroyed everything there. So that's why, because of that, Mesopotamia is one of the core reasons why there was desertification in that area. And once desert starts, it starts spreading. So when Moses was educated in Egypt, according to Moses' own writing, it's not like we have other sources. According to Moses' own writing, was educated in Egypt. So when he wanted to document the history for his Israeli people and give them a national identity, he was copying stories both from Egypt and from Mesopotamia, right and left. A good story is the story of the Garden of Eden. That is the very first story in the Bible after God created the Garden of Eden and started creating human beings. Moses did not come up with that story. It's an ancient Sumerian story. Let me show you. So this is Garden of Eden. If you go to Wikipedia, you see that it falls into a category of similar stories of towns around that area or civilizations around the same area. Look at it. Now, Garden of Eden falls into what? A story is called terrestrial paradise. Terrestrial paradise. Terra in Latin means world. I have a Latin diploma. I can understand Latin to a large extent. So terra means this planet. That's the name of this world, this planet Earth, Terra. So when something is terrestrial, it means that it happens on this planet, on the surface of this planet. So a paradise, that is like a clone of heaven on earth. So Garden of Eden falls into that category. I hope you guys can see my screen. Let me verify. Yeah. So keep dropping comments. Let me know when I'm still hearing. Okay, somebody wants to join. Vincent, should I add you? Do you want to say something, or you're just watching? Let me add Vincent. Hey, we can hear you now.
Hello?
Vincent, do you have anything to say?
Hello? Hello?
Yes, we
Hello?
can hear you. We can hear you
Yeah,
very
what
well.
I just want to add I just want to say something. So what I want to say is that the word of God, that is the Bible, is the word of God written by men.
Mhm.
Understand me? Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Keep going.
Yeah, it was the word of God who is written by men. There are a lot of mistakes, anytime I do mistakes, when I come back from work, I do watch a lot of pastors and there and there. The Bible was just was written by men, but it's the word of God. When if we continue to be, there are a lot of things to dig about. The question is still that this issue of Micah. When you go to the book of Second Samuel verse 6,
Okay.
23, he said Micah never had a child. That is Micah, son of daughter of Saul. Never has he was forced. He was forced and he was barren. And then she never had a son until after he died, and she never had a son. But when we are still reading on the 21 of the Second Samuel, that is the same Micah who was barren who was caught and was married now has five has a five son. And if you know, I was now thinking again, where did this first
And
son
sorry,
come from?
sorry for the interruption. I don't know whether it's only me, but it looks like your voice is cracking. The internet is not steady at your end.
Okay.
Okay, I
I'll
think
put
what
up
will
there.
happen is let me disconnect you. Then you can try reconnecting again. Okay. Maybe in the meantime, just disconnect your internet and reconnect it. Okay. All right. So back to what we were discussing. So there is something called the Garden of Eden is in a category of similar stories, written by people around that era. So now, if I discover that the Garden of Eden is not just a unique story, that other peoples around that era wrote similar stories for their own religion, what do you do to find who wrote the original one? You start looking at the dates. You understand the dates. If they told you that I wore a white shoe and my neighbor also wore the same white shoe and this other guy also wore the same white shoe, how do you know the first person to wear that shoe? The way you will know is you look for how do you know who really owns the shoe? One way is to start looking for who wore it first. So that's the way the story of the Garden of Eden is. So if you just go to Wikipedia, you will see that Garden of Eden falls into that terrestrial paradise. Now, there are other similar terrestrial paradises. You understand? Now, generally, it's called the Garden of the Gods in Sumeria. Sumeria is the civilization that started at Mesopotamia. So they lasted for hundreds of years until Babylon rose and conquered them and took over. And when Babylon conquered the Sumerians, they did not just exterminate them, they adopted some of their cultures, just like when Rome conquered Israel. They adopted Christianity from them. They conquered the Egyptian, the what do you call it now, the Greek. They adopted architecture and writing from them. You understand? When they conquered we in Africa here, what did they adopt? The answer will shock you. They found the cure for malaria. They never really had malaria, but when they came to here in Nigeria, they found the cure in 1921 because they took what we used to treat it and went abroad and tested it and now found the active ingredients, use it to manufacture drugs and start selling back to us. So when you conquer a people, you take the best parts of them so that you grow. So that was what happened. So now Sumerians have the original story. Now they call it the Garden of the Gods. So let's see what is written here. They said the concept of Garden of the Gods or divine paradise may be originated in Sumer, okay, and that is Sumeria. The concept of this home of the immortals was later handed down to the Babylonians. In the Bible, it was written that the Babylonians went and conquered Israel and took them off for slavery. Who remembers? Nebuchadnezzar took them off for slavery. And then finally, these Sumerians came back again and conquered the Babylonians, and the new king Cyrus released the Israelites, and that was 70 years they spent in Babylon. Who remembers? So if you go down, you see a Sumerian paradise is usually associated with the Delmon civilization or Eastern Arabia. You remember Saudi Arabia, the eastern part. Remember what I told you about this map? Is this not where Saudi Arabia is? Look at east. Look at the east of it. Look at the west of it. You see, Eastern Arabia, which is Mesopotamia. Okay, so I'm giving you some gist. Okay, they now started mentioning the scholars that went there to research. They were looking for artifacts dug up in the ground to see all those clays that they wrote those stories. They were able to dig them up. Now, if you go down, you see that one of the clays they translated what was in one of the clays. And they said that 25 lines were missing. Let me start from here. Lebanon, okay? In tablet 9 of the standard version of the Epic of Gilgamesh. You need to read it because the story of Noah, this is where they copied it. Epic of Gilgamesh. That is the original story of Noah. So it was copied into the Bible and the name there was now changed to Noah. Exactly, almost word for word. Exactly how there was flooding, and then for 40 something days, and then it dried out, and everybody died. Only Noah's family survived, and then exactly like that. So go and Google the Epic of time to read at least the summary. The summary is on Wikipedia. Read. Now you need to know. I have to always put that warning there that Wikipedia, anybody can edit Wikipedia. So, but then you focus on the references that they gave. There's references at the bottom. So that's where you will see actual scholarly articles or books. So this say that in that tablet, they dug up several tablets. They say the ninth one, okay, talks about how Gilgamesh travels through the garden of the gods, through cedar forest and depths of Mashu, a comparable location in Sumerian version as mountain of cedar felling. Little description remains of the jeweled garden, so Garden of Eden, jeweled garden of Gilgamesh, because 24 lines of the myth were damaged and could not be translated at that point in the text. Okay, so let's read some lines that were not damaged. It says the name of the mountain is Mashu. As he arrives at the mountain of Mashu, which every day keeps watch over the rising and setting of the sun, whose peaks reach as high as the banks of the heavens, and whose breast reaches down the netherworld. The scorpion people keep watch at the gate. So they were describing this certain garden. And I told you, you've seen the proximity between these people and Israel. Actually, according to Google Map, Israel is just 3 days walk. 3 days, yeah, if you're using your leg, you will just walk for 3 days till you arrive there. In fact, in the Bible, when Nebuchadnezzar conquered some Israeli cities, he took one of the kings, I can't remember the king, he put out his eyes, tied him to a horse, and walked him all the way back to Babylon. Before plucking out his eye, killed sons before him and dragged him on the horse to say that it's just a walking distance. Okay, look at Epic of Gilgamesh. I told you that's where they copied the story of Noah. Look at the tablets. So it's not as if you're doubting whether it was dog. This is the actual tablet. They translated things there. You see, as you can see, some have damaged. Okay, when was it written? 2,000 years before Jesus was born. When was the Bible written? Genesis was making reference to, okay, well, Moses around 700 years before Jesus. This one was written 2,100 before. So we're talking about more than 1,000 years before Moses was born. You get more than 1,000 years. So this Epic of Gilgamesh came out before that of Moses. Say, look at, let me just summary of it. The Epic of Gilgamesh is an epic poem from ancient Mesopotamia, regarded as the earliest surviving notable literature and the second oldest religious text after the pyramid text. The literary history of Gilgamesh begins with 5 Sumerian poems about Gilgamesh, okay, king of Uruk, dating from the 3rd dynasty, 2100 BCE. So they were writing about a certain king. These independent stories were later used as source material for a combined epic of Akkadian. So another kingdom, neighboring, also copied this story. Probably after conquering the Sumerians, they took it. You know, the first version of this combined epic, known as the Old Babylonian version, dates to the 18th century BCE, 1,800 years before Jesus, and is titled as Incipit. Okay, only as few tablets. So the first part of the story discusses Gilgamesh, king of Uruk, and Enkidu, a wild man created by the gods to stop Gilgamesh from oppressing the people of Uruk. After Enkidu becomes civilized through sexual initiation with a prostitute, he travels to Uruk, where he challenges Gilgamesh to a test of strength. Gilgamesh wins the contest nonetheless. The two become friends. Together, they make a 6-day journey to the legendary cedar forest, where they plan to slay the guardian Humbaba, the terrible and cut down the sacred cedar. The goddess Ishtar. Who remembers Ishtar? That is what Christians celebrate today as Easter. That celebration of Easter is from this god Ishtar. So if you read the whole Bible, you will not see Easter. But what you're going to see is the story of Ishtar. Ishtar died and resurrected after 3 days. Let me even open it. So what I'm trying to show you is how these people copy story. Okay? The goddess Ishtar sends the bull of heaven to punish Gilgamesh for spawning her advances. Okay? Gilgamesh and Enkidu kill the bull of heaven, after which the gods decide to sentence Enkidu to death and kill him. In the second half of the epic, distress over Enkidu's death causes Gilgamesh to undertake a long and perilous journey to discover the secret of life. He eventually learns that life, which you look for, you will never find. For when the gods created man, let death be his share, and life withheld in his hands. Nevertheless, because of his great building projects, he encounters Siduri advice and what the immortal man told him about the great flood. Have you heard of the great flood? I told you that that's where they copied Noah's story. Now, compare this to the story of Cain. Cain killed his brother Abel, and God caused him to start wandering around. Is that not what happened to Gilgamesh? Gilgamesh killed the bull of heaven, and he was caused to wandering around. You know, distress over Enkidu's death causes Gilgamesh to undertake a long and perilous journey to discover the secret of eternal life. So if you take them and read it, it's a great flood. Now the flood will shock you. How Moses reproduced this story to the letter is just amazing. It's almost as if he copied a copy of that and changed the names. Look at it. Gilgamesh is a flood myth. So that Gilgamesh story fall into a category of stories around that they call the flood myth. These people around the civilization were copying each other. Many scholars believe that the flood myth was added to tablet C in standard version in the by an author who used the flood story from the epic of Atrahasis. So these people dug up tablets. Look at the tablets. They dug up tablets, and they are saying that the sixth tablet is where the story of the flood was, and they believe after seeing tablets of somewhere else, they believe that this one copied. You get a short flood myth is also present in much older Sumerian names, from which the later Babylonian version drew much of their inspiration and subject matter. You see, Babylon came later, but then they wrote their own story. They paid those ones and adjusted it to suit their own culture, from which the Israelis took their own, adjusted it, and turned it to what we have in the Bible today. So let's see. Let's see one or two lines from this. So you compare it with what I had. So here you can see Gilgamesh flood tablet contains additional story materials besides the flood. Okay, the flood story was included because in it, the flood hero Utnapishtim is granted immortality by the gods that fits immortality theme of the epic. The main point seems to be that the flood hero Utnapishtim was never to be repeated circumstances, as if to demonstrate points. Utnapishtim challenges Gilgamesh to stay awake for 6 days and 7 nights. However, as soon as Utnapishtim is speaking, Gilgamesh falls asleep. Utnapishtim instructs his wife to be a loaf of bread every day he sleeps, so that Gilgamesh cannot deny his failure. Utnapishtim wants to overcome death, not even sleep. I'm trying to look for the actual flood. So for the part where they describe the flood, so you compare it. Okay, now look at this now. Hashem tells Gilgamesh a secret story that begins in the old city of Shuropak on the banks of the Euphrates River. Now, if the story, the Genesis story, say that the Garden of Eden is located where 4 rivers, where they say is Tigris, Euphrates, Gihon, and Zipihon. Who remember? They said that's according to the Bible. That is where the Garden of Eden is located. So if you look at this, look at it now. It says the Euphrates are first mentioned in the Bible in the book of Genesis. It said a river flowed out of Eden to water the garden. There it divided and became 4 rivers. Okay, they now named it after the Pihon and Gihon. The name of the 3rd river is Tigris, which flows east of Assyria. Okay. So we have river Euphrates, Tigris, Gihon, and Pihon in the Bible. Okay, now look, let me shock you. Let's look at the map. If we can find some of these rivers, we can get a rough idea of where that Garden of Eden is, according to the Bible. Okay? Remember that Israel is somewhere here. Now, these rivers you're seeing is River Euphrates and Tigris. But let me get the one that has the name correctly. I'm trying to get, okay. Where is River Euphrates and Tigris? So if you Google where is River Euphrates and Tigris, you will see that they are, I've seen it, in Iraq. So look at this. This is Iraq. Oh, this one doesn't, okay, yeah. Can you see, this is map of Iraq, right? This is Jordan, this is Israel, lower left. This is Syria, Damascus. You see, this is where Paul was going to kill Christians. What do you see here? River Euphrates. See here, River Tigris. And here's what? Look at this. That was where they joined and split into 3 rivers. It's saying around here is where they had Garden of Eden. So somebody was writing about a special garden that was here. And remember, I told you that these places were deserts. Forget that there are rivers there. They are deserts even till today. If you've gone to the Middle East, if sun knock you, you'll be asking yourself, did I do anything wrong in this world? Like sometimes it's so hot that people can cook egg under the sun. They will come out, go to TikTok, you see videos. They'll bring out their this and cook egg. You know, travel there. You know the way you wake up in the morning, you take your fufu in the fridge and your soup, you know, and then you microwave it. I don't microwave when I'm in the Middle East. I keep it at my window. Window will not be open. No, keep it at my window. Before I finish in my bath and dressing up, it's so hot. I'll just take it and eat it like So, because the desert was there and they lacked water and vegetation and everything, their idea of heaven, their concept of paradise would look like is going to be something they lack, which is what? A garden. You get what I'm saying? A garden is going to be the idea of the perfect environment, which is paradise. So kings of those days, once they establish their kingdom, they will build a garden. So the latest one we know is the one that is among the 7 wonders of the world, which is the hanging garden of where? Hanging garden of what? Babylon. You get? So Babylon, King Nebuchadnezzar built a magnificent garden because that is his idea of what? Perfection. He built a magnificent garden that they say the ruins still stand till today. The ruins of that garden are still there till today. So, but what if you come to Africa and you start looking at what is the idea of heaven? You'll see that we have vegetation a lot in this part of Africa. So telling me that I will go to heaven where there's garden and it doesn't make sense to me, does it? There's garden everywhere, you know? Imagine somebody coming from a bush and I tell you, it's not gonna be interesting to him. So every part of the world, every religion, their heaven is usually what they lack. You know, whatever they lack in life, what they perceive to be heaven is gonna be that thing. So in this part of the world, even though we're still practicing the same Christianity, people would rather believe that heaven it has many mansions. You know, picture that magnificent mansion with white walls, white this and that, and then people in white robe, and then you have gold everywhere, gold chains, gold this. Why are we imagining that? That's because that is what we lack. You know, if we had so much wealth and we had all those mansions, people, that thing we are thinking is in heaven. People are enjoying it on earth. People have mansions, have gold. If it was what we have here a lot, that's not gonna be what heaven is for us. So kings in those Mesopotamia, once they establish, they want to build it. You get. So the Garden of Eden was paradise, meant paradise to the people of that area. So Moses was writing about a garden in another country, you know, called Iraq today, but then it was Mesopotamia or Sumeria. So that's where the concept of that Garden of Eden. Yes, somebody just found that Dubai is very hot now. See, if you go to places like Dubai, if you come out of the vehicle, now run, you go run, enter back the vehicle or run into a house. And all the houses, they have air condition, permanent air condition. You can't build a house there without air condition. You won't die. You won't make it kill you. You get. So their heaven is that perfect place where there is paradise. Look, when Alexander the Great conquered that area, you know, he went from Greece and conquered that area. When he arrived, he was shocked to see the magnificence. The people have burnt all their cities. They saw that a large army is coming from Greece to attack them, you know, and their army went out. I think it's King Darius. Remember Darius in the Bible? He went out to confront Alexander the Great and lost twice. By the second loss, Darius ran. You know, as he ran away, Alexander the Great to their country, their city, without any opposition because their army has been wiped out in battle. He came. So one of the things that surprised him was the gardens. He was like, wow, this place is amazing. Why is it amazing? He has been walking through desert only to find out that in the middle of the desert that there's gardens. The king took out time to build magnificent gardens and then chart waterways. So this river now, they will build minor artificial rivers into their cities. So those places will water those gardens and serve water to their people. Understand? So this story of Garden of Eden, it is like the 1000 story at that time. So Moses was copying it from the Epic of Gilgamesh. Other stories at that time. That was where Moses got it from. The story of Noah and the flood, that was where Moses got it from. Which other story? Concept of Cain killing Abel and becoming a vagabond. Basically, what Cain transformed from was from a farmer to a herdsman. That was what the concept. He was a farmer, he transformed to a herdsman and started wandering around. So probably was trying to explain how one of their ancestors moved out of their land and started and became a herdsman or wanderer. Now he had to craft that story, draw inspiration from several sources. So if you start focusing on whether you will miss the concept, you will miss the context, you miss the message of the story. I just showed you the concept of Jesus dying for 3 days and resurrecting. They got it from Ishtar. Let me show you. I know I've said it before. In the, where is Ishtar? Inanna Ishtar. That Easter that we celebrate as Christians today, this is where they got it. Look at it. is an ancient Inanna. It's also called from Ishtar, you see. So if you Google Ishtar, it will bring you to Inanna because that's the name. Inanna is an ancient Mesopotamian goddess associated with love, beauty, sex, war, justice, and power. She was originally worshipped Sumer under the name Inanna and was later worshipped by the Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians under the name Ishtar. She was known as the Queen of Heaven. If you're Catholic, this thing rings a bell, right? When they say, Gina Chele, Letare, O Queen of Heaven, rejoice. You see where that title came from? You see? Okay. And was the patroness of Inanna, Enna temple at the city of Uruk, which was her main cult center. She was associated with the planet Venus, and her most prominent symbol include lion and the 8-pointed star. Her husband was the god of Dumuzid. Okay, now we're going to look at where she resurrected. Let me find it. Let me find it. Okay, yeah. Inanna's most famous myth is the story of her descent into and return called hell. Okay, the ancient Mesopotamian underworld. That's called a myth in which she attempts to conquer the domain of her older sister, the queen of the underworld, but instead deemed guilty of hubris. When you hear the word hubris, somebody is yelling hubris. Okay, that's where it came by the 7 judges of the underworld, struck dead. So Inanna died. That's Ishtar died. 3 days later, okay, Nishobo pleads with all the gods to bring Inanna back, but all of them refuse Enki, who sends 2 sexless beings to rescue Inanna. Okay, escort in out of the underworld. The Gala, the guardians of the underworld, drag Dumuzid down to the underworld as her replacement. Dumuzid is actually permitted to return to heaven for a year, while his sister remains the other half of the year, resulting in the seasons. So if you read this story, you see that people are trying to use they're trying to use myth to explain years. Those days they don't have calendar things, so they have to explain how come part of the year is hot, how come part of the year is cold. You know, how do we know when one year has completed? So this Inanna is associated with what? Venus. Venus is a planet. So if you look at the planetary cycles, see that there are 3 days in a year when Venus is not visible. Venus is the only planet that is visible from the human eye and the sky. Night and early morning, if you see a star early in the morning, shine, that's Venus. It's a planet, it's not a star. You understand? She was associated with Venus. So now, 3 days in a year, Venus will disappear. And you know, the skies used to be clear. It's not now that there's all the CO2 and everything. Then they didn't have much CO2 footprint. So the skies used to be clear at night. So these astrologers, they can read the stars. This is where this one is. Every time this one comes to this place, that means we have completed 1 year. That they have used to track the times and seasons, and it's in the skies. When it comes to 3 days in a year, they will not. And if travelers are traveling at that time, you know, I mean, that's with the yes on foot and in the ocean, like sailors. That 3 days, they will turn down their mast and pause. They will wait till that star comes back up. So to pass the knowledge down, they created it into a story that star is God, that where it's missing. That's why it's missing. After they came back with the key of life, came back with 3 days. Is that not what we have in Christianity today as Easter? Jesus died, descended into hell for 3 days. He now came back. All of a sudden we have Easter manufactured. This is where it came from, Ishtar. Even the word Easter is not in. Show me where Easter, the word, is in there. It's not there. but the story was copied from there. Go and do research. It's not like I'm making anything up. Look at it here. I'm not the one that created this story. Now look at this now. Her cult continued to flourish until its gradual decline between the first and Christianity. Now, if doubting that Ishtar exists, if you go to Iraq today, to you, the main end gate of the city of Babylon is still there till today. It's just in ruins. The main entrance gate is dedicated to that gate of Ishtar. If you go to YouTube now and type gate of Ishtar, you will see what I'm telling you. You can actually get tourism. They reconstructed it. They reconstructed it in a museum. I think it's in actual one in Ishtar. I'll open it. I'll try not to play it though. Play it. So that is the concept. So these Bible authors would copy stories from different sources. So this is the map of Babylon. Now people go to Babylon today to witness this. Look at the city of Babylon. It's now in ruins. This is a video. I don't want to play the video. But if you type it, Ishtar gate of Ishtar, you will see that in Babylon that the city of Babylon is still there. It's just in ruins. Nobody is living there again. You know, you will now see the entrance gate, the gate of Ishtar, see, dedicated to Ishtar. In its day, it would have been magnificent gate. In fact, they try to look at the walls, how high they are and everything. So they try to reconstruct it to give people an idea of what it looked like. So let me, gate of Ishtar. Gate of Ishtar. So you see, people still in Iraq. It opens from it closes around 11 p.m. If you actually get to go and see it, look at it. It's marked as a world archaeology. So these things exist. Nobody will tell you. They will just look at what Babylon used to look like. Can you compare it? Have you seen nice design with blue and everything? Look at the soldiers guarding it. Look at what is. But now all weird, and we're left with something like that. But it still stands. You see, these things have been there for thousands of years. These cabins. You see, look at when they were excavating it in the 1920s. Some place they didn't know until somebody found it, and then they dug it out and dug out the whole city. These guys tried. Imagine digging out a whole town. Look at the waterways, everything. So I want you to take time and watch it. Look at how it looks like. Take time and watch it. This is where they got the concept Ishtar. You get. Now, Ishtar is what we are celebrating as Jesus resurrected after 3 days. Don't misquote me. I celebrate Ishtar, but I know where it came from. You get what I'm saying? No, because nobody alive can deny me chicken. Nobody, they never born you. I know chop chicken for the mad. Yeah, in the man. I know where it came from. That's how knowledge. Yes, so a lot of stories were copied from. If you dig into it, you will see they hijack the story, change it to Jesus. The way you will know also is that the Bible is and contradicting each other in terms of the story of Jesus. For instance, one part of the Bible, they said he died for 3 days, before resurrecting. In the other part, if you count when there is not 3 days again, they said he died on Good Friday. Friday to Saturday is 1 day. Saturday to Sunday is another day. That's 2 days. And they said it resurrected on Sunday. It's not up to 3 days. That's why the contradiction. Because somebody was trying to hijack of another culture and insert it. If you keep going, you see so many stories. For instance, the book of Exodus, they copied it from the law of Babylon. Exodus means what? They were leaving Babylon, right? They copied it. They just hijacked their city laws, copied it. So that law is called the Code, Hammurabi Code. Hammurabi was the first person to a written constitution. You understand? A set of laws that everybody in the society must follow, how to treat several different complex cases. You know, so you have one template for handling all cases. So if you read the Bible, you start seeing that and compared it word for word. See, if you go to Google and comparison between Exodus and Hammurabi Code. Hammurabi was a king that lived before Nebuchadnezzar, a Babylonian king too. You know, I told you Babylon was in power for. Let me even check how long did the Babylonian Empire last? How long did the Babylonian 300 years, you see? 300 years they were power. Hammurabi is how Exodus revises the laws of Hammurabi. And this is coming from an official, the Torah. Hammurabi's code and law in the air is the code of Moses and the code of Hammurabi. I'm telling you that King Hammurabi was the first to bring down a written code. The code of Hammurabi versus the law of Moses. So now when reading some of these things, you need to read with open mind again. What I mean is some of these sites are Christian sites that are having the confirmation bias I talked about, where you already believe something, then you're trying to find things to conform to it. So when you're researching something like this, try and read 5-6 different links. Okay? Get 5-6 different perspectives. Then you can just read in one. Or you might the first one you read might be that of an atheist that wants to prove something by all means. And then the other one might be part of a church, a certain Christian denomination that wants to counter something by all means. But when you read the two, you get the full idea. You see, the code of Hammurabi is well written down. Look at the clay. It is well written, and they have two. Hey, the king Hammurabi received that stone from God. That's how to it. Can you tell us that received stone from Moses went up the mountain and received the tablet. The tablet containing what? Laws for the children of Israel. Who? From it's shocking, Abby. Look at the stone. This stone here on the they wrote the whole body. They wrote the laws. The top they put they molded the king, collecting that from God or the sun god. Is that not what we worship on Sunday? Sunday of the sun god, as opposed to that's in the Bible. Why? Because what? We copied that one too. So at the time the Romans were trying to spread Christianity. This one that many people go for their religious days on Sunday rather than on Saturday. Switch Christianity into Sunday. So on that day, everybody will go together. Today, if you go to the Middle East, right, Sunday service for Christians is on Friday. Because what? There are mainly Muslims there. So Christians switch to Friday Sunday service. No more Sunday. On Sunday, everybody goes to work. People in the Middle East are my line. So that's the way Christianity adopted Sunday. Like I told you, this is not, nobody will teach you this in the church. Nobody will teach you this in the church. It's only when you research by yourself, you now start seeing, oh. So they pointed out some areas of similarity in Moses' writings in the Bible with that of law of Hammurabi. Justice, given that the image of God is in all men, and given that the law of God is inscribed in the hearts of men, it comes as no surprise that some of the laws in the code are just civil order. Okay, the people will apply the codes of Hammurabi and Moses. Each offers a receipt for civil order. You see, so if you go and read, you see so many points, some line by line, that Moses copied from that law of Hammurabi and put it in the Bible as something that God gave him. You get? So some of these stories, they copied it. So when you're trying to compare different sections of, you get? So you shouldn't compare it that way. You focus on what is the story and the moral lesson. After all, if it was not Bible, nobody would be asking that question. If it was some book of what do you call it? Nuggets, rivalries between tortoise and this and that, folk tale stories. Nobody start asking why not this, that. But it's Bible, that's what everybody's asking. That Moses was the leader of his people and he was trying to build a nation. And to build a nation, you need laws. And for your laws to have legitimacy, it must come from God to you. That's how they used to have legitimacy then. But now it's by the barrel of the gun. Once there's election, you accept it, whether it's rigged or not. If you don't accept and they use their police and army and deal with you. But then the kings will always claim that they came from God, so that people will not try to drag it with them. Even today, we still have some fake spiritualists that will claim that they are from God when they know that they are not from God. Why are they claiming that they are? When they make a wrong prophecy, they will say it's not me, it's what God said I should tell you. I'm just telling you what I don't know. They're not putting it to God, so you will not blame them. That was the concept. Instead of saying that I am the one commandment of the mountain, who went with you? Nobody. Only you go mountain. So you can't take the Bible literally like that. It's an allegory. You know? Let's see. You have to take it as a story written to pass a message. Okay, look at this. Allegory. A story, poem, or picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typical or moral or political in nature. The only time people try to see the Bible as allegory is when they are reading Revelation. When they want to read Book of Revelation, that's when they now start thinking deeper. You know, every other part of the Bible, yes, it happened exactly the way it is. No, that's not true. Many parts did not have names you saw there, were copied or manufactured. The stories were manufactured, but for a purpose. You get what I'm saying? For a purpose. I'm sure if you dig, let me show you. I hope you guys can see my screen though. So if you Google the concept of what that God saw Jesus miracles, you will see that it was so almost all Jesus miracles. If you do research, you will see. You understand? So at the end of the day, if you read it word for word, I know there are pastors that have been in water. Pastors have drowned. There's a Kenyan pastor that called his congregation, you know, Stupendous idiot. Called his congregation on a Sunday. Instead of holding the church in his church, he now went to the river. Instead of starting from the edge of the river to know whether to walk, he said he should lower him from the bridge. As a leg they water, they go it's like the gravity will be stronger when when you don't believe that it can deal with you. When you don't believe that you can ever fall. If you fall that time, and at that time they fall, they they strong well. It drowned the guy because he was trying to take it. Even the story of lions not eating Daniel. So many people dedicate that. In the book of Daniel. Remember that story was written by Daniel himself. Oh boy. Book of Daniel. I think that's where the story of that, right? Let's confirm. So that's the concept. You see, Daniel. I don't know who wrote the book of Daniel, though, but I believe it's Daniel himself because he too was an educated person. The book of Daniel. Who wrote the book of Daniel? The most obvious conclusion would be the book that sacrilege. Okay. So it's like, I don't know who wrote it, but it was around the Maccabean Revolt. So Catholic Church added wipe it out of Israel. There was a time the Greeks conquered Israel and Egypt. The time of Mark Antony and Petra, So they were forcing the Jews to sacrifice animals to the gods of their Egyptian Hellenistic gods. So the Maccabees family revolted, and they were able to bring back Israel to its glory again. So it's in the Bible, not probably your Bible, is in the Catholic Bible. Like now, if you get Good News Bible. So if you're a Christian, I would advise you to get it and read it just for the knowledge there. There are very interesting stories there that are not in the regular Bible. Like the story of Tobit is there. So these people will take stories from neighboring civilizations, convert it, put Jewish and Hebrew names, okay, spice it up a little, and write it as the Bible, and you'll see it there in the Bible. You'll see it there in the Bible. So if you focus on whether this one happened, who did Abel marry, you miss the core message of the story. Why did this person write this? That's why the moment you want to discuss Bible in logical terms, it will fail. Once you bring Bible and start using logic on it, how can somebody walk on water? How can a lion not eat somebody? How can this? How can somebody multiply bread to 5 fishes to feed 3,000 people? How can Jesus be talking to 3,000 people? You get what I'm saying? Picture what it looks like for one person to be talking to 3,000 people and they're hearing what he's saying. Come on, what are you telling me? You get? So if you start running your mind through all those details, you will mix it was what? It didn't happen exactly that way. It was written to pass messages. One of the things I do when I want to read any book, novel, or anything, I go and read about the first. So I turn the back, turn the back, start scanning through. What is it? Who is this author? What has he done before? Where is it from? Where is it coming from? What angle? Sometimes I just go to Wikipedia, type his name. Like if I want to read Chimamanda's book, I go to Wikipedia, type her name, read about her. She grew up in Nigeria, this, that. She now relocated and this. She's married with kids, this, that. These are the books, other books she has written. Here's the quick summary. Then when I'm now reading that book, I can read it in the proper context from this guy's experience. It's just like that movie Netflix. Very interesting if you've not seen it. Beast of No Nation. It was acted by Ghanaian actors and Liberian actors. But if you don't read the author, you will not get that is about the Biafran. It's only when you read about the author you will see, oh, it's actually Nigerian. Oh, this is writing about the Biafran war and mixed up with Liberian African general wars, where children are involved, but you will not see Nigeria there or Liberia there. So if you pick the book and say, how can I in the middle of a war? There's no army that will recruit a child. You get what I'm saying? You will miss the point. Just raised a very important point. He said, why can't we practice our own ancient fathers? Is it because they never had any idea of Yeah, not just they. It's an African thing. We don't write. Till now that we have knowledge of how to write, and we have produced so many professors, many of them have gone back to their village to native doctors and actually write down a religious book, put down their religion as a book, their own Bible. How many of them have written it? How many of them? I just heard of one person that about Ifa religion. One of the professors told me in school that he met a man that has some of those written. So this person had to write all the incantations and how it is done, and even transcribe that Ifa. Said it looks like a binary system. They wrote it. Outside that, come on, look around, and the knowledge is dying. One day to be gone. Knowledge, ancient wisdom, all of it be gone, because we don't write in Africa. We know it's not just our thing. Reasons the Jewish religion survives today is that they write. In fact, that take those writing so seriously that they ascribed an entire tribe to it. Israel had 12 tribes. The tribe of Levi, they said they should not work. Their plan from to do is to write. So what do they do when they are being attacked? These people, these Levites, they will take all the writings. When a city, they will take pots, clay pots, cover it, seal it properly, deep ground, bury it, deep, bury it, cover everything, and commit suicide. Drink poison, die. By the time the enemies enter the city, all the Levites are dead. They will not know where the Bible is or their religious books are. It's only hundreds or even thousands of days that during construction they will now discover some of this. Go and read about how they discover the what they call the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's the only time they discover some of these things. So if you're taking it that these things happen word for word, no. When it comes to Africa here, we need to start writing down this knowledge, this ancient wisdom. It's only when we write it down that our children can come and pick it and read it and start practicing it and even improve on it. As long as it's not written down, we can only be following the one that is written down, which is Christianity today. Why are we following Christianity? Because there's a book we can read. Imagine that just word of mouth that they taught us Christianity. Imagine that it's just word of mouth. If it's just what, nobody's going to practice it. After some time, people will leave it. But the fact that every Sunday you go, there's a book that everybody opens and reads the same thing. That is why new generations will listen it. Until we have our own official books. You get the book of Amadioha, the book of Songo. Until we start having that, people pick up that religion, it will be dying. So Vincent said, what I'm trying to say in a video earlier is that 2 Samuel 6:23 said, Michael has no children. 2 Samuel 21:8 said she has 5 children. Bible contradict each other. Yes, there are hundreds of such contradictions. Hundreds. It's not even hundreds. In fact, there are websites that are dedicated to Bible contradictions. Like when they said no man has seen God, then Moses saw God. Then this one, this one, that. So if you take it literal, word for word the way it is, you're going to miss the remnant. the core message. This question from Kevin since days ago. Where is the question? Did I miss it? I can't see your question. I don't know what you're referring to. I remember you in the other video, but I can't remember what you're. So yes, Vincent, your internet was not good. So there are so many contradictions in the Bible. So many. If you focus on the contradiction, you will miss the message. So when people try to follow a Bible verse exactly the way it is, like when they said a man should not wear a woman's clothes, a woman should not wear a man's clothes, those people are wrong, because what they are following it word for word. They're not looking at the context around it which it was written. There are places they say women should not wear, women should submit their rings, like when Aaron wanted to mold calf for them to worship. He collected all the gold from all the women and used it to mold calf. You know, some churches will now say, therefore, no earring. You know, word for word. They are missing the message. The message is don't worship idol. That is not on the message. Or more importantly, if there's a better solution coming, don't be too much in a hurry that you make a mistake. Because in that place, Aaron collected all those their gold and molded calf before Moses could come down from the mountain. And he was so destroyed the tablets. So there's a hurry that you eat up your capital before before the investment comes in. You get. So when people say a woman must not wear a man's clothes, there are some churches that in Nigeria, if a woman walks in with trousers, another person will come and start pushing her. All this church warden and usher, they will not allow her to enter. Why? Because somewhere in the Bible it is written this. Come on, that's stupid. You know, some ladies will not look fine when you're young. From your 18 to your 30, 35, you're supposed to look. That's your female, feminine prime as a woman. All the possible makeup in the world that you want to make, do it. If you want to wear any nice clothes, wear it. Snap picture, do all those things. You know, sample your body, flaunt it. You know, that's when you are in your prime as a woman. Some religious folk will open the Bible and show you, use it to destroy your youth. When you're now in your 30s, 40s, you'll be seeing young girls, you'll be like, why didn't I do this? Where did my life go? Time your shape has changed. You have given birth to 5 children, everything has scattered. No more, you know. So don't just follow the Bible word for word. Anytime any pastor is preaching and trying to change your life by just following exactly that, forget it. That pastor is missing it. These things have to be looked at in context. You know, the people writing it, what was their culture then? There's a place in the Bible they say a woman must always head in the, you know, and the man must not cover his head. He has to remove his cap. You need to understand the culture around that time to apply it. In fact, most Pentecostal churches have thrown away that verse. You know, follow he's obstructed the anointing. They removed that verse. So men don't wear cap inside the church, except you're a king. If you're a traditional ruler, then you can wear cap. You are too big to remove cap for God. Or you're a bishop, you wear all those bishop. You know, but if you're a layman like us, simple Christians, you remove your cap. You get. So, but that is one place I feel properly apply that. If a church will not drive me out for wearing face cap, if that same church has already allowed a king, you know, when those kings visit, or presidents, sometimes Muslim president will visit a Christian church, he will not remove his cap, he will leave it there, and nobody will talk. But if anything you want to wear on your head, wear it. If they can come from that direction, then I can see that this church is enlightened. You know? So, but we see that all the time, where the church would and wear shorts and not world now, but Nigeria. They will pursue you from the church. In fact, it has got to the point that is it Zambia, a lady went to parliament. This is not church, oh. This is not church. In Zambia, a lady went to parliament and wearing trousers, chased her out. All the ladies now walked away. They have carried Bible into their constitution. Let me even look for it. Let me look for it. That is Africa for you. Tanzania, that's Tanzania, MP. That's Tanzania. Let me get you so that you will see it. Tanzania. They carry Bible principle. Pursue this woman. Look at it now. Tanzania MPs demand apology for tight trousers incident. They say the trouser was tight. They forget constitution they will be doing. Look at her now. They chased her out because they say this trouser. Look at how she's dressed. In Nigeria, this is a religious dress, you know. Nigeria don't spoil. They walked this politician out because she was dressed in trousers. Can you imagine? Africa 20, is it not this year? 2nd June now. Look at it now. Just happened. This is Africa for you. Where are they getting this thing? It's not from the Bible that they're getting this thing. Following word for word. A man should not wear a woman's cloth. A woman should not wear clothes. See, any go that are telling you all this, you must not do, you must do this. See, your belief system is supposed to set you free, not cage you. What are you telling me? Some churches will ban alcohol. Alcohol is sin. Alcohol is not sin. Is the excess of it. So you guys can read. So the women, it has now turned to women rights campaign. Female MPs in Tanzania have called for an apology to P. Wait, though. I hope you guys can see the screen. Jeez. You guys can't see my screen. What I'm reading. This is what I'm reading here. You see, a female MP said the way some women dressed invited ridicule to the male MP. Okay, look at what the woman was wearing. She's the one in yellow. See how they are walking her out. They chased her out of the parliament for wearing this trouser. They said it's tight. Is this trouser tight now? Even if it's tight, you get what I'm saying? Look how the woman is dressed very decently. They believe from the Bible, a woman should not wear a man. So trouser has now turned to a man's clothes. But this is actually female trouser. She's not wearing men's trouser. This is female trouser. That is what some churches in Africa look like when they start imposing these things. Say woman must not wear earring, the woman must not wear what else? Must not make up. You know, makeup is evil. Can you imagine? What else? Every year, there's always somebody in NYSC vowing that she will never wear trouser. NYSC camp in Nigeria. You know, it's paramilitary service. So the women must dress, everybody, not just women, everybody must dress in a certain uniform that allows for physical activities, marching, climbing trees, all those things. That's what you do in NYSC. But there's always somebody that will come and say she can never wear trouser. Fight will start. So Bad Boy says, what's the topic of this discussion? We're asking where Cain's wife came from. So we now analyze the Bible. So Mary said, revelation of the word of God is what you need. We have gotten deep revelation about most of what we preach or teach. Get revelations, brother. Thanks, Mary. I have revelation already. So guys, I'm going to end it here. I hope you learned a lot. Feel free to Google any of the sources I gave you, all right? Epic of Gilgamesh, the story of Noah, how it was gotten from there. The story of Cain, how it was gotten from there. The Garden of Eden, how it was copied from Epic of Gilgamesh and all the way from Iraq, Mesopotamia. Feel free to Google it, do your own research, okay? Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I'll be coming live again tomorrow, and then we're going to pick up another topic. All right. Thank you very much. See you.